Landman Season 3 trailer has dropped, and we see Tommy in what looks like a completely different headspace than anything we witnessed across 2 full seasons. CTT oil exploration in cattle is real now. It is not a plan anymore, it is not a dream. It is an actual functioning company with his name attached to it. And standing beside him is Cooper and TL, which is the part that genuinely got to me on a personal level. Because this is the first time in the entire run of this show that Tommy is not keeping someone else's empire alive. He is building something that belongs to his family. He is betting on the people he loves most in this world. And for a brief moment, the trailer lets you feel that. It lets you breathe inside that feeling. And I think that is completely intentional, because what comes immediately after that calm is where the trailer starts to reveal its true nature. The tone shifts in a way that is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and suffocating instead. And that is so much worse, because the danger that is coming for Tommy in Season 3 is not the kind that announces itself. It does not kick the door down. It sits across the table from you, smiles at you, and waits. We have seen that kind of danger before in this show, and the trailer is making it very clear that it is back. And this time, it is not targeting Tommy's career, or his position, or his authority at MTEX. This time, it is targeting the one thing he chose to protect above everything else when he walked away from that boardroom. His family. CTT was supposed to be the answer. It was supposed to be the clean break, the fresh start, the thing that existed outside of all the corruption and pressure and political games that had been slowly destroying him from the inside out. But the trailer is already showing us that clean breaks do not exist in this world. Not in the oil business. Not in Texas. And definitely not when your last name is attached to something valuable enough that the wrong people want a piece of it. That is the cruelest part of everything the trailer is setting up. Tommy did not escape the game by starting his own company. He just changed the rules slightly and invited the game directly into his home. And Cooper is right there in the middle of it. Cooper, whose instinct for refineries was always both a gift and a curse, is now attached to a company that is small enough to be pressured, hungry enough to need outside help, and valuable enough to attract exactly the kind of attention that no father ever wants aimed at his son. The trailer shows us glimpses of Cooper that feel different from Season 2. There is something in the way he carries himself now that suggests he understands the weight of what they have built together. But understanding the weight and being prepared for what that weight attracts are 2 very different things. And I think that distinction is going to become one of the most painful storylines of the entire season. Because Cooper is talented. Everyone knows Cooper is talented. The refineries prove that beyond any reasonable doubt. But talent in this world does not protect you. If anything, it paints a target on your back. And the trailer is already pointing directly at that target, like it wants us to feel the dread before the season even begins. There is also something about the way Tommy looks when the trailer shifts tone that I cannot stop thinking about. Bob Thornton talked about it in that interview, describing Tommy as wearily happy at the end of Season 2. And when I watch the trailer, I can see that weariness starting to harden again underneath the surface of that happiness. It is like watching someone who finally let themselves smile, and then slowly, over the course of 2.5 minutes, remembering why they stopped smiling in the first place. That is what this trailer is doing. That is what this show has always done, better than almost anything else on television right now. It makes the peace feel temporary, and it makes the dread feel permanent. You already know that whatever Tommy built with CTT, whatever hope he poured into that company and that family structure, and that dream of something clean and honest in a dirty industry, all of it is going to be tested in ways that the end of Season 2 only hinted at. The moment Galino appears in this trailer is the moment the entire energy of everything shifts. And I mean that in the most visceral way possible. Because there is something about the way this show frames Galino that is unlike almost any other antagonist on television right now. He does not come in with threats. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. The trailer understands this about him completely, and it uses that understanding like a weapon against the audience. Every single second that Galino is on screen in this trailer is designed to make you deeply uncomfortable in a way that you cannot immediately explain. And I think that discomfort comes from something very specific. It comes from the fact that Galino represents a kind of danger that Tommy has never truly been equipped to handle. Throughout both seasons of this show, Tommy has always been able to navigate danger through intelligence, through stubbornness, through a certain working-class instinct that kept him one step ahead of people who underestimated him. But Galino has never underestimated Tommy. Not once. And that is what makes him so uniquely terrifying as a presence in this story. He has always seen Tommy clearly, which means he has always known exactly where to apply pressure to get what he wants. And what the trailer is showing us now is that the pressure he is choosing to apply in Season 3 is not aimed at Tommy's career, or his position, or his reputation. It is aimed at CTT. It is aimed at the company that Tommy built with his own children. It is aimed at the thing that was supposed to be untouchable, because it was supposed to belong entirely to family. Season 2 established something important about the relationship between Tommy and Galino that I think a lot of viewers might have underestimated at the time. Favors are never free in this world. That was true when Galino first came back into Tommy's life, and it was true every single time their paths crossed after that. But what the trailer for Season 3 is suggesting is that we have now moved beyond the favor stage entirely. We are in the debt collection stage. And debt collection in Galino's world does not look like a conversation between two businessmen. It looks like a slow, patient, methodical dismantling of everything you were foolish enough to build within his reach. And Tommy, by starting CTT, by putting Cooper and TL directly into the center of a new oil venture, has essentially handed Galino something far more valuable than anything he had access to before. He has handed him leverage over a father. There is a particular moment in the trailer that I keep coming back to, and it involves the way Galino looks at Cooper. It is brief. It is almost easy to miss if you are not paying attention, but the intention behind that look is unmistakable once you see it. It is not the look of someone sizing up a business competitor. It is the look of someone who has already decided how they are going to use a person, and is simply waiting for the right moment to begin. And that single moment reframes everything else the trailer shows us about Cooper's storyline in Season 3, because it tells us that whatever Cooper's arc is going to be this season, whatever growth or independence or ambition he is going to pursue through CTT, all of it is happening inside a trap that has already been set. Cooper just does not know it yet. And watching the trailer with that understanding is genuinely one of the more unsettling viewing experiences I have had with this show. Because you can see Cooper in these glimpses of footage looking like someone who finally found his place in the world. He found the thing he is good at, he found the people he wants to build it with, and he found a purpose that feels honest and personal, in a way that nothing before ever quite did for him. And Galino is going to use every single piece of that against him. The cartel's interest in Cooper is not accidental. It is not incidental. It is strategic, in a way that goes all the way back to what his talent represents in the context of the oil industry. A young man who can read refineries the way Cooper can, who has the instinct and the eye and the natural intelligence for it without years of formal training behind him, that is an asset that people like Galino do not walk away from. They move toward it, carefully, patiently, with a smile on their face and a plan already fully formed before the first conversation even begins. And the trailer is showing us that the move has already started. Tommy is going to see it. That much is clear from the way he carries himself in the later moments of the trailer. That familiar tension is back in his shoulders. That familiar calculation is back behind his eyes. But seeing it and being able to stop it are two completely different things when the person you are trying to protect is already inside the situation before you realize the danger was real. What makes all of this even more layered and complicated is that Tommy cannot simply walk away from Galino the way he walked away from MTEX. Because Galino was never just a professional problem. He was never just a workplace complication that could be resolved by resigning or starting over somewhere else. Galino is woven into the fabric of Tommy's life in a way that CTT does not change and a fresh start does not erase. And Season 3 is going to force Tommy to finally reckon with what that truly means. Not just as a businessman, not just as a survivor, but as a father who built something with his children and handed the cartel a direct line to everything he loves most in this world, without fully understanding that was what he was doing. That is the tragedy the trailer is quietly setting up in every frame that Galino appears in, and it is going to be devastating to watch unfold. There is a ticking clock in this trailer that the show is not even trying to hide, and that clock is the offshore rig. Because everything that Cammy built after she made the decision to fire Tommy and take MTEX in her own direction, everything she staked her credibility and her authority and her entire professional identity on, all of it comes down to what Newsom finds or does not find out there in the dark water. The trailer gives us glimpses of that rig that are genuinely haunting in their visual language. There is something about the isolation of an offshore oil operation, the way it sits in the middle of an indifferent ocean, completely cut off from everything on land, that the show is using deliberately to represent the position Cammy has put herself in. She made a bold move. She made an independent move. She made the kind of move that changes everything about who you are and what you stand for in a room full of powerful people. And now she is waiting to find out whether that move was genius or catastrophe. And the thing about waiting in a story like this is that it is never passive. Waiting in Landman has always been active and dangerous and full of consequences that accumulate while you are standing still. The trailer makes this clear in how it frames Cammy throughout. She is not shown as someone who is relaxed in her new position or comfortable with the authority she now holds over MTEX. She is shown as someone who understands exactly how much she put on the line and is living every single day inside the full weight of that understanding, which is something I find genuinely compelling about where her character is headed in Season 3, because Cammy has always been one of the most emotionally honest characters this show has ever written. Even when her decisions were painful or difficult or impossible to fully justify, you always understood exactly why she made them. And firing Tommy was the most painful and the most honest thing she has ever done on this show. She did not do it out of cruelty. She did not do it out of ambition in the cold and calculating sense of that word. She did it because she looked at the situation clearly and made the call that she believed was right for MTEX and right for her own survival inside a world that had been slowly consuming both of them for years. But now, she has to live with that call. And the offshore rig is the physical manifestation of that consequence, sitting out in the ocean, waiting to deliver its verdict. If Newsom finds oil, Cammy wins in a way that is loud and undeniable and public. She proves that she was right to take control. She proves that her instincts about the direction of MTEX were correct. She proves that letting Tommy go was not a betrayal, but a necessary evolution. And if that happens, the collision between her and Tommy becomes completely unavoidable. Because CTT is now in the same industry, operating in the same territory, with the same kinds of relationships and pressures and opportunities that MTEX is chasing. Two people who used to build things together are now building things separately, and the trailer is showing us that the space between those two separate things is going to get smaller and smaller as Season 3 progresses, until it disappears entirely. But here is the thing that I keep thinking about when I watch the trailer and try to read what it is actually saying about Cammy's storyline versus Tommy's. What happens if Newsom does not find oil? What happens if the gamble fails? What happens if Cammy staked everything on that offshore rig and it comes back empty? Because that outcome does not make her wrong about Tommy. It does not undo the reasons she made the decision she made. But it does change the power dynamic between them in ways that Season 3 is clearly going to explore with everything it has. A Cammy who wins is a Cammy who can maintain her distance from Tommy on her own terms. But a Cammy who loses is a Cammy who might have to navigate a world where Tommy's new venture is succeeding while hers is failing. And that particular dynamic is one of the most emotionally complex territories this show has ever set foot in. Because these are not enemies. They were never enemies. They are two people who loved each other and built a life together, and then watched that life slowly become incompatible with the people they were each trying to become. And the trailer is holding all of that history in every single moment they share the screen together. There is also something the trailer is doing with Newsom specifically that I want to address because I think it connects to a larger theme that Season 3 appears to be building toward. Newsom is out there on that rig representing MTEX's future. But he is also out there completely alone in a very particular way. He is removed from the politics and the relationships and the competing loyalties that define everything that happens on land in this story. And there is something almost symbolic about that isolation that the show seems very aware of. Because the question of what you find when you strip everything else away and go looking for something real in the dark, that question is not just about oil and gas. It is about every single character in this trailer who is currently standing at a crossroads between who they were and who they are trying to become. Cammy is asking it. Tommy is asking it. And the offshore rig is the show's most literal and most honest way of asking it on behalf of all of them at once. There is something the trailer does in its treatment of Cooper that I think deserves its own dedicated conversation, because I believe it is the most quietly devastating thread in everything Season 3 is setting up. And it starts with something that a lot of people celebrated at the end of Season 2, without fully examining what it actually meant. Cooper being cleared. Cooper walking out of that situation at the end of the season with his name intact and his freedom secured felt like a victory in the moment. And on the surface, it absolutely was. But surfaces in this show have never told the whole story. And the trailer for Season 3 is finally, openly, and I would say almost aggressively, showing us what was underneath that surface the entire time. Cooper was not simply cleared. Cooper was released. And those are two fundamentally different things, when the people doing the releasing are the kind of people who never let go of something valuable, without attaching a string to it first. The cartel does not clear people out of generosity. The cartel does not walk away from talent like Cooper's because they suddenly decided the situation was resolved and everyone could move on with their lives. They cleared Cooper because clearing Cooper served a purpose that was more useful to them than the alternative. And the trailer is showing us that purpose starting to reveal itself now that CTT is real. Now that Cooper is embedded in a functioning oil company with his father's name on it and his own talent driving its early momentum. Every decision the cartel made regarding Cooper in Season 2, every moment where the pressure was applied and then seemingly released, it was never about Cooper as an individual. It was about Cooper as an asset. And assets are not freed. They are repositioned. What makes this particular storyline so emotionally heavy in the context of everything the trailer is showing us is the fact that Cooper himself does not appear to fully understand this yet. And why would he? He went through something genuinely traumatic in Season 2. He came out the other side. He found something to build with his father and his family. He is moving toward a future with Ariana that feels hopeful and real and grounded in something honest. All of the external signs suggest that the worst is behind him. And that is exactly the kind of moment this show has always chosen to complicate in the most painful way imaginable. Because the worst is never behind anyone in Landman when there are still people in the story who have not finished using them yet.